Hi, I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Generic Ad.
Join us every Wednesday as we talk about films that seem to be forgotten by audiences, whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time or the film simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the film, maybe don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. You never know, you might find your own forgotten gem. Forgotten Cinema is available wherever you get your podcasts or at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com or ForgottenEntertainment.com, as we are a proud part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
I swear I talk more in the episodes.
Hello there. I'm Colleen.
I'm Anders.
And I'm Daniel.
We're nerds who love science fiction and fantasy stories, so of course, we love Star Wars.
And if there's one thing the internet definitely doesn't have enough of, it's nerds talking about Star Wars. So each episode, we journey to a galaxy far, far away to discuss what's new in the Star Wars canon and beyond with yet another Star Wars podcast.
From the endless sand dunes of Tatooine to the highest levels of Coruscant, we cover it all. Yet another Star Wars podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and is proudly part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Hi, I'm Chamar Griffith, codename Comic Shams.
And I'm Andrew Tejada, codename Arate.
I'm a blurred with a love for artwork and comics and animation.
And I'm a writer and blurred with a love for pretty much the same things.
We grew up together and spent much of our formative years watching and talking about DC superhero shows and content. In fact, we still do.
Every episode, we will discuss a DC production, compare it to its original source material, and share our thoughts on the adaptation.
We've enjoyed our conversations these past couple of decades, and we think you will too.
This season, we'll put a shock to our system by covering Static Shock, the animated series, on
yet another DC animated podcast. Welcome to yet another episode of yet another DC animated podcast. My name is Chamar Griffith, codename Comic Shams.
And I am Andrew Tejada, codename Arate.
Andrew and I have known each other since 1996.
That was the year Dunstan Checks In, the movie where a chimp is in a hotel because of reasons.
Oh my God, I had a crazy flashback. I saw it. I played the whole movie in my head just now.
It's one of those animal stunts movies. So if you like animal stunts and George Costanza from Seinfeld, here you go. This is your movie.
I know the connection, but that whole setup just sounds like it could have been trouble, especially in our first episode today where we had trouble squared. It has nothing to do with that, but I could just tell like there's too many levels that it hits.
Don't worry, guys. There will be a monkey later on.
Yeah, there's no monkeys are harmed in the making of these episodes. At least real monkeys. So we're starting off today with Static Shock Season 3. We're talking about episodes 11 through 13. We got Trouble Squared, Toys in the Hood, and wrapping it up, we got Parent Trap. So we got basically every single 90s themed movie you could think of. Name this is it here, right?
Yeah, this is a pretty good blast from the past. So all the millennials out here suffering with us. Here's your shot. Here's your chance.
Oh, which I'm going to use that for the name of today's episode, Blast from the Past.
Nice.
Mainly because it really boils down to our Static cast list, especially there's a lot of nostalgia here as we have the main cast of Static is back. We got also Patton Oswalt and Michael Rosenbaum are back as Specs and Trapper. We also got, yeah, love these two, the dynamic duo that nobody ever wanted. Kerrigan Mahan returns as Edwin Alva. As you remember, Kerrigan Mahan is also the voice of Goldar from the Power Rangers series. We got coming up George Newbern as Superman.
What a classic. What a class act.
Yes, you gotta love the nostalgia here. Superman was unable to join for the crossover episode that we had with A League of Their Own, so he finally got his one-on-one time with Static. I guess this is the final round interview that Static had to go through for the Justice League, I guess.
Yeah, there's several rounds of tryouts. You have to go through their HR process, make sure you haven't said anything racist in the past, and then
they check your Twitter account.
they definitely scan your Twitter for everything.
And finally, wrapping that up, we have in our Parent Trap episode, we have the return of Shebang. We also have the return of her parents. One voice there we actually had is Phil Morris, a great character actor we've seen in a lot of stuff in the recent years. And also, he before going on to become the Hellboy character, Ron Perlman stops by for this episode as Dr. Koenig, aka Heavy Man.
I knew it the whole time. I was like, "Is that Slade? Is that Slade Wilson from Teen Titans?" Thank you for.
It's just like in Teen Titans. He don't like them teens. He really.
No, there were so many parallels.
Well, before we head on over to meet Ron, we're gonna stop first with Trouble Squared, where we're actually taking it back, another blast from the past, to the animation style of season 2.
Yeah, I assume this was another supposed to be season 2 episode because again, Gear is conspicuously not Gear anymore.
So how you get demoted?
Yeah, he just seems to be just hanging out, and so Static is at the community center. He's using his powers to do the most charitable thing, which is fix the arcade machine. And the broken arcade machine is symptomatic of the center's having some financial problems. They've run into a little bit of hurdle with money, as in they don't look like they have any.
Yeah, and this is where we get a chance to see Robert Hawkins. He's on the phone. He's, trying to get some grants to really get the community center to continue on. Unfortunately, Virgil tries to offer some kind of money, but as we would expect from a 15-year-old kid, his wallet is so empty that not even the cartoon fly comes out of it.
Ugh, that's a big insult, Can't even buy a Jawbreaker.
You're broke, kid. You're broke. So luckily though for Virgil, he will learn about where he can make money. As today's career day at school, he is on a trip with Daisy, Richie, and the rest of his people in his class as they head on over to Alva Industries. As we know, Alva Industries is the place we do not like.
Yeah, it's also weird that the career day was a field trip. Like normally, isn't that in school?
It's one or the other. There's gotta be a balance. You can't be having both.
Yeah, it's a weird turn. But while at Alva Industries, where Static does mention this is where he had one of his first major throwdowns, we see our favorites, Specs and Trapper, who have nothing better to do than to insult some high school kids and complain how bored they are, probably making at least triple 100,000 figures that we'll not see in a while.
Oh, gosh. And what's even worse, they start bragging about like, oh yeah, we're on this really cool secret project with Alva. I don't know how I imitated that voice so well. Anyway, they're on this really secret project with Alva. They're just bragging about that once again. But Virgil's just like, no, this does not seem right, especially everything that they put him through back in season 1. So Virgil decides to investigate to see what the secret project is as he puts on his Static costume later that night. And as he's flying around to this really cool stealth mission, which I love because he's manipulating the cameras all around him and all these other things. However, as he finally comes across to where the Specs and Trapper are, he sees a whole bunch of other scientists, and it's clear that they're trying to reanimate the once petrified Edwin Alva Jr.
Yeah, I thought this was a really cool callback because the last time we saw him, he was too jacked, and he got so jacked that he turned to stone, and at least that's how I remember it. And his father was left bewildered. He didn't know how to fix him. So it looks like this new project will finally be able to reanimate the Alva Jr. But while this is such a innovative and special project, and Static's like, even Static's like, I guess so. Specs and Trapper are still bored as hell. They want to really impress Alva, but Alva has no time for that because they are so close to reanimating his son with this huge machine. So while Alva rejects their pitch, we see that Specs and Trapper have built at least one laser helmet, and they seem very eager to use it.
So yeah, now that Specs and Trapper, it seems that they've decided to join in on the super villain game here as they don these new costumes and are now calling themselves Spectral and Speed Trap.
I mean, it's not as bad as Kick and Push. So all right, but I'm still not happy about it.
The main issue that I have with it's not even the names. I think the names kind of make sense when you hear them describe their powers, but then when you hear what the abilities are, they're just too impossible for me. It's impossible. There's no way you can do this. So basically, Specs turned himself into a Green Lantern with the power of the elements. Like he's Captain Planet.
Yeah, he can like generate again that Android 17 field and like shoot any like he had like 7 elemental powers or something like that.
Right. Like
In
if he
one
shot a
suit?
red one, it was legit fire. He can also freeze things if it was blue. This is too much.
Yeah, and Speed Trap is absolutely broken because I think it's kind of implied he can mess around with time, but I think it's supposed to be kinetic energy to be somewhat realistic, but he can slow down and speed things up independently. Like, are you the Flash, sir?
Because I was just like, there's no way that you could just build. It was also put into a gauntlet. No, this is impossible. Regardless, this is not the Infinity Gauntlet. There's no, and even then you needed like stones in order to make that work. There's no way that he could mess around with kinetic energy that much.
Yeah, it is a definite hack. They're definitely OP, which is why Spectral and Speed Trap absolutely kick Static's ass in this fight. I mean, honestly, Static had no chance. Gear's not around. Their powers are so OP, and they kidnapped Static. And again, they call him the Kilowatt Kid. It's coming back.
It was a little confusing though, because it was just like this episode was supposed to drop in season 2. So I was just like, do we have to give credit to Specs and Trapper versus Harley for the Kilowatt Kid?
I'm not.
Okay, cool. All right.
So Static is just coming out of consciousness, and his sister catches on, calls up Richie. Richie uses a classic bathroom excuse that Virgil's in the bathroom with that tuna noodle surprise.
We need to count how many of these that they've used in terms of like how many bathroom excuses they've gone through so far.
Yeah, there's we should have kept out from the beginning because I can think of at least 5 off the top of my head. But luckily, Richie calls Static and this wakes Static up just in time as Spectral and Speed Trap are showing that they captured Static to Alva, and Alva's like, I ain't asked for this.
This is the exact way. It was just like, this is why you need to ask your teachers about what extra credit assignments are actually available. Don't jump ahead. Because Alva is just pissed right now because he's just like, your main job was to basically help with the issues of my son. You brought the person who basically ruined my life. I do not care about this right now. And there's nothing that Static can do that can help with Edwin Alva Jr. becoming unpetrified. So now it's leading to this point where Alva is just trying to figure out what's the best course of action, while Static at the same time, because he's able to generate enough energy, he's able to send off a charge that is long enough to distract them all, and then he's able to fly out. But before he does fly out, this is where I'm assuming we're getting this week's Static shocking damage report.
Oh, yes, because this week, during the course of the battle inside Alpha Industries with Spectral and Speed Trap, Static destroys approximately 4 Windows 95 computers. And I think the destruction of these early PCs was enough to derail the project for 3 to 4 months. It looks like it looks like just that they were like, and they specifically are like, the computers were too damaged. It's like, it's 4 PCs. Why couldn't you? Did you not have some backup on floppies? Like, what is going on?
See, this is already right here. Edwin Alva doesn't care about, backing up anything. He only cares about the future, except for if it incriminates him. Because remembering back to that first time we met Edwin Alva, he was like, back up all my criminal activities on the floppy disk. So now that Static is able to escape, this is when Edwin Alva just rips a new one into Specs and Trapper. We don't get a chance to see it, unfortunately, although I would definitely pay for this cut of the episode.
Release the Spectral cut.
So as they are walking out, they're heading back to I'm guessing their on-campus living arrangement. And this is where they see 2 officers just hanging out in front of the building. And they're immediately told that they're no longer allowed on the grounds. They will be charged with trespassing. And despite all their stuff still being inside the rooms that they're trying to head into, Edwin Alva has now said that they're basically persona non grata into this whole entire establishment.
Yep. And, as is with normally privileged dudes, they decide this entitles them to do whatever they want. So they immediately, after saying that there are more sons to Alva than that block of cement, which is damn.
That's cold-blooded.
That's, what is wrong with these dudes? They decide the next logical course of action is to steal the stone Alva Jr. and demand a ransom. So when they try to lure Alva into a trap, luckily Static is in there and protects Alva from this giant robot, but he still has to deal with the matter of ransom and Spectral and Trapper, who pressed all the cheat codes down on the game and can do everything now.
So now this turns into a full-on basically manhunt for Specs and Trapper. Virgil unfortunately got into some trouble at home for coming in so late, and this is where we find out once again that the community center truly is in trouble, because after a previous conversation, we learned that it's basically in danger of being shut down completely. And because of that stress, Virgil's dad was really pissed off of the fact that he got back home pretty late. And we don't get a chance to spend too much time on this conversation, as Virgil and Richie are having it over at Get Your Grub On. This is where we see that, like, basically Edwin Alva has access to mercenaries as they're scouring through Dakota, and they head into an abandoned warehouse where they immediately get attacked by, I want to say this was an upgraded version of the Alva machine from that episode where the thing that was tracking Virgil, the one that was like encased in ceramic. But this time around, it's like the Edwin Alva machine has basically ate Shaq, and it is way bigger than we ever expected.
Yeah, somewhere in a Static universe, they just build robots bigger and bigger, and that's just the solution to everything.
And yet we never get a Gundam in this episode.
Where is our Gundam? Release the Gundam cut. But robots are no match for Static at this point, so he easily defeats it. And since Alva and Static kind of want the same thing here, they decide to team up, form a temporary alliance to get the stone Alva Jr. back. And Virgil quickly pieces together that they're probably in a familiar location. And it goes back to the school from season 1. So you see Spectral and Trapper, they are ready to blow up Alva Jr. Stone with a bomb if their ransom is not paid. And unfortunately, Alva is a cheap ass dude.
Yeah, because he decides, instead of paying Specs and Trapper, he pleads with Static to basically go look for his son. And I do love this moment because Static is just like, why do I even need to help you? Like, everything you've done has been detrimental to our entire state of Dakota. You have done many things to try to hurt me. But he does ultimately agree, and he's able to take down Spectral and Speed Trap, but not before they see that there's only a few seconds. Like, we're saying like 2 seconds left on the clock. So Static does a really smart thing here where he takes the knocked out Speed Trap's technology and uses it to aim it at the bomb, and he's able to slow down the count of the bomb, which now makes me really question, like, what is it actually manipulating still? Because it does not make any sense.
Yeah, like bombs, the kinetic energy of the explosion. It doesn't make any sense. There's just, you can't, I don't know what's going on. I just know that Static gets the Alva Jr. Stone out of there in time. He, for a minute, seems willing to let them blow up in that explosion too.
And he definitely did have that minute because he slowed down the time. So he definitely was standing there thinking, I was like, I could, I don't have to kill you, but I also don't have to save you either. Like,
he was real salty about that beatdown from earlier. But Static's good instincts pay off, and he, after the bomb has gone off a little bit in their faces, he saves them from the bigger explosion. And I guess it was in different waves because I can't think about the science of this, but we find out the next day that Spectral and Trapper will be tried as adults, as I'm pretty sure they are adults.
Yeah, that was confusing because I was just like, they grown. They look like they pay taxes.
Exactly. So they're tried as adults, and as part of the deal of saving little Alva, Alva gave a big donation to the community center to keep it open. So all's well that ends well after bomb threats and terrorism.
Yeah, the things that you would not expect to hear about happening in the hood. And speaking of in the hood, we're going to talk about toys in the hood now as we jump to our next episode, where Virgil and Richie are on another school trip. They are heading to the forest to investigate some flora and fauna, as we see here that Daisy is just really showing off how smart she is here, and Richie is basically calling her a teacher's pet. But this immediately gets cut short as the most terrifying thing, actually the second most terrifying thing that I've ever seen, starts heading their way. A giant robotic monkey, one of those little clapper monkeys that has like the symbols and just keep jumping around.
Oh yeah. This is the monkey you've been waiting for, guys, because this monkey has no mercy, and he immediately goes after this bus. And of course, Richie and Virgil get to sneak away and turn Gear's back for approximately a minute because Gear sprains his ankle in this exchange. And it's up to Virgil to try to stop the giant monkey, but he is unable, and it looks like the robotic King Kong is going to eat Virgil, but someone swoops in to save the day.
Yes, because now we have the man of tomorrow comes in today for the nice save, as he and Static get a team up. Static is just impressed. However, I will say, though, that the combined powers of Static and Superman, it was just enough to measure up against this monkey. Fortunately, though, Static was able to distract the monkey long enough for Superman to basically take the crushed school bus and throw it through him so that the whole monkey just shattered into a million pieces.
Yeah, he won't kill a person, but he will absolutely fuck up a robot. Like Superman.
Where there's no way you piecing that back together.
Oh man, I loved it. I love seeing it. I love to see it. Savage Man of Steel Superman. And Superman, in the aftermath of the battle, looks over at Gear, and using X-ray vision, he determines, luckily it's just a sprain, not a break. His leg is cursed. How many times has Richie's leg broken, shot at?
Yo, at this point, look, Richie, I'm gonna need him to build a suit of armor for real. Like he has no right to be out there in like a sleeveless tank top and like, was it like a skin tight bodysuit, knowing this boy is so breakable. Like it's not okay at this point. At least build a shield or something.
Yeah, something for your legs.
So the next day, we see that Virgil and Richie are hanging out at school. Richie is using crutches. The two of them are talking about how awesome it was to team up with Superman. Unfortunately, though, no one got a chance to see it, so they'll never get that street cred that they needed to make it up to the Justice League, I guess. And they were wondering, will they ever get a chance to see Superman again? But they do get a chance to encounter with Daily Planet reporter Clark Kent. And for us, the comic book fans, the TV show fans, we know that these two are one and the same. So it was just like one of those meta media moments of just like, oh yeah, you are, because he's right here to investigate the fight that happened earlier.
Yeah, if you weren't sure this was Clark Kent, he's so jacked.
He is.
He's so jacked. Like, how is the suit even containing his rippling muscles? Because damn.
Do you think that he gets his stuff from the big and tall section, or does he just get?
No, he has to go to the Fortress of Solitude, and they have to custom make that stuff because there is no way any human clothes could contain those muscles. Jesus Christ. But while Superman is there investigating, he notices that he peeks through the walls and sees Miss Moore, who we saw earlier chatting up with Daisy, and they seem really close as a teacher and student. And Superman walks in there and goes, "What's up, Darcy?" And for us who have not watched Superman animated series, luckily he gives a quick breakdown of who Darcy is and why Miss Moore is not who she says she is.
Because again, Darcy is the doll from Superman the Animated Series. First seen in 1998 in I think it was like season 2 or 3 of the series. All I remember it was in one of those episodes of Superman the Animated Series. We learn here that Darcy is a creation of Toyman, is connected to Toyman, and Toyman was just basically in love with her, gave her a personality, and she's been trying to escape Toyman this entire time. So as they're talking it through, Clark is just like, let me know what I can do. I can definitely help you. We were able to work alongside each other before, so let's try to make sure you do it again. However, this reunion gets cut short as Clark starts to hear the footfalls of this gigantic creation heading their way. And I know that I said that the monkey was the scariest thing I saw. This is actually the scariest thing I saw, because a giant clown starts heading their way, and I do not fuck with clowns. I hate them.
Oh my god, and especially this one, because it's strong enough to tear the roof off of the school
hell?
in one go with barely any effort. Now you know why they go on field trips, because the school has come under attack too many times. They're trying to get the kids to safety.
Or there's just no school at this point to actually even go to.
Yeah, and as Static and Superman are ready to take on this one clown, unfortunately, it's a nesting doll of clowns, and more mini clowns pop up to address and try to go after them. So now they're dealing with a bunch of clowns, and unfortunately, in the midst of this, Daisy is abducted inside one of the clowns.
All of which are my greatest fears.
Simultaneously.
Right? It just escalated. They were like, how can we just scare the shit out of Chamar even more? Let's bring in clowns. Let's make the clowns multiply. Let's make the clowns basically eat people. Like this. No, we don't. This is the scariest episode of Static Shock. And when we watched the Brain Puppets episode. So no. So here, Superman and Static do get a run for their money here, as Static is being held down by all the clowns, and Superman is able to use his speed and his strength to finally break away from the clowns and help Static out. But this is when Superman learns that Daisy was kidnapped, and as Superman hears this, he's like, wait, I thought they were heading for Darcy. So as he flies over, this is where he sees that Darcy is no longer basically in sight. She's nowhere near the building that she was at. So Static and Superman head on over to try to find out where Darcy currently lives. And this is where we get kind of an update about who Darcy is and this new thinking that Superman has about what actually went down, which is quickly answered for us as we see that Daisy wakes up in a random factory strapped to what looks like the world's craziest easy bake oven.
Oh yeah, this thing is real suspect. And then on top of that, you get Toyman, who this particular design of Toyman is creepy as hell.
It really is.
Some soft-spoken dude with a ventriloquist doll face and outfit, and way too into the toy aesthetic. And he basically explains that Darcy wasn't running from Toyman. She was in fact running to him. And her goal the entire time was to get close enough to Daisy so that they can make essentially a copy of Daisy's body with nanites, essentially like 3D print Daisy's body. Then Darcy, after that point, Darcy would be able to transfer her mind to this new 3D printed body and be human.
Okay, so you know how we said that Spectral and Speed Trap had a crazy, don't make no sense power ability set up here? This was worse.
Too many steps. Again.
Yes. Even the easy bake oven don't have this many steps.
I'm not a villain, but again, if in this situation, wouldn't you go for someone who like wouldn't be missed? Or like someone in high ranking power of government? I guess the nanite body can't age either. We don't know about that, but like, how far are you going to get as a teenage girl when in like 2 or 3 years you have not aged at all?
Right. Also, why not just grab anybody? Why befriend them first? Like, this didn't make any sense to me. There was a part of it they were like talking about intelligence, but I was just like, I don't think intelligence is genetic like that.
Yeah, I don't. And she seemed to retain all her memories when, later on. So it's like, I don't. Yeah, it wasn't Yeah, it didn't really make sense. Because I thought she was transferring her robot mind into Daisy's body.
That's what I thought too. And then you saw that
Right.
random lump of clay in the middle.
Yeah, that the nanites. I don't know. The plan is convoluted, but they're going through with it anyway. And luckily, Superman and Static do some detective work because, as Virgil says, Richie can find a cotton ball in a blizzard. So they're able to trace a serial number back to the warehouse. And Static and Superman fly in just in time while Static screams booyah. And hey, Static, that's cyborgs.
So here we do see that the process is done. Daisy there's been a copy made of Daisy. Darcy's mind has been transplanted into this new copy. And this is where we first see from Virgil's eyes the Darcy, Daisy, and Daisy appearance as he's confused as what's going on. And as Darcy is now kind of commanding Toyman to just get rid of them, this is when Toyman sends out what I honestly might think is the coolest weapon to use against Superman and Static in this scenario, as he has created toy soldiers, like life-size toy soldiers, not like the March of the Wind toy soldiers from that old movie, but life-size toy soldiers, and each one of them have been laced with kryptonite. So when Superman is ready to go and fight against these toy soldiers, he's immediately taken out. And because that their material has been mixed in with plastic, Static can't do anything against it because they just naturally repel his electricity that he sends forth. And I just thought this part was really cool. I think this was the best toy that Toyman actually ever created.
Oh yeah, I agree. I love this concept, and I love that Toyman was like, "Well, this is a happy coincidence because I was just trying to get Superman, but this works against you too. This is great." So I do love the skillful use of both of these things combined. It was really nice to see. So we have this moment where we're like, we genuinely don't know how the heroes could beat Toyman at this point. And just when things are at their lowest, Darcy decides, I'm going to double cross Toyman. So she has a robotic Ken doll.
Yeah, it was definitely a robotic Ken doll.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Drives in with a car, busts through the warehouse. And this temporary distraction gives Daisy the opening to free herself from her restraints and run into a nearby maze, I guess, that Toyman just had in that warehouse. He had time to build a doll maze, I suppose. I don't know. She's in a maze.
Yeah, and there was a part of it that seemed to be very influenced by Ace Chemicals, where, as you all know, this is where Joker was first created, because there's a giant vat of boiling liquid. It is a greenish boiling liquid that just happens to be open and exposed. And as Darcy is chasing after Daisy, they're able to also trap Toyman under a piece of plastic. It was like a plastic container for where like toys actually exist. So this is just like a little slap in the face to me.
Yeah, and Static is able to do that because he's able to create a highly charged atmosphere that shorts out the RV Ben's chips. Sure, Static. And we can't worry about that because right now Darcy is trying to either kill Daisy or turn her into the Joker because she's ready to throw Daisy into an acid vat. But Static saves her just in time. And now we get to the classic, which one's Daisy? Which one's Darcy? Because even Superman's X-ray vision can't tell the difference. So there's one more thing left to do.
I will say, I'll give it to them that this scenario, this trying to figure out who's the real Daisy, was smart. I think that like even having it being that like it's even that Superman can't figure it out either makes sense. What I'm trying to figure out is whether this is science fact or science fiction that Virgil drops on us, as he explains that all humans emit an invisible electrical aura, which he can make visible. How do you even find that out?
Trial and error.
So he's able to do it. He's able to create this field. So we see that he lights up purple. Everybody's looking Super Saiyan now at this point. Even Superman and Toyman. Toyman I was shocked about because I was just like, I thought this was like a random toy just walking around.
Right.
But the only person to not have this aura around them is the Daisy, who's clearly Darcy, who immediately tries to back away with the most powerful weapon probably in Toyman's toy chest of a slingshot that is actually a bomb that, according to Toyman, can take out a city block.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Some
Again,
of these people
Toyman.
just need to get some patents on this shit. Yeah,
Exactly.
they will make so much money if they just patent their shit.
Exactly. You could be sending people to carry diamonds on trains for you, Toyman, if you just supplied yourself to the U.S. government. I'm sure the military would love you. So, because he has this huge ping pong bomb, it looks like Darcy's going to get away free. But then Toyman reveals that he has a failsafe that melts Darcy's Daisy body in a horrifying manner.
Yes,
it's gruesome. And he's like, I have the antidote, but nah, I'm gonna throw it in some acid.
This was the darkest episode. So as Toyman is taken into custody, Superman also flies off. He heads back into Metropolis, we assume. And now Static decides that he's going to take Daisy home now that she's safe. And he's just commenting to her saying that, like, yo, it's so awesome when you get a chance to hang out with your favorite superhero. And this is when Daisy comments back to him, I know exactly how you feel. Once again, solidifying that Daisy definitely does have a thing for Static. You know, we're here wondering when that's ever going to happen because we know Virgil's also feeling her. But we'll never find that out or ever get a chance to try to trap the two of them together to see how their relationship will grow, because we have to talk about a different trap, the parent trap.
Here's your standard Dakota mystery, because there's a guy breaking into chem labs. He heard how jacked Superman was, so now he's walking around leaving footprints in wood. And they're just trying to figure out who this could be, because unfortunately, it can't be our man Bigfoot because he's locked up right now.
They won't let him out. I think it's funny though. We do get this really great little knowledge update as we learn that Bigfoot might actually wear a size 196 wide shoe.
Wow, that's close to mine. I'm impressed that he has the same shoe size.
It's like, this man, you and Bigfoot will never be able to find a good pair of Jordans, I feel.
No, they're all stretched out. It's horrible.
But as Static and Gear are flying about, we see that despite this race of them trying to see who can get home faster, someone does beat them home, as Shebang seems to be back in town and she's spying on them flying around the city.
Yes, and as they settle into a gas station of solitude, they're taking off their masks, enjoying a cold root beer, living the dream, and Shebang crawls out from the shadows, prompting them to put on each other's masks, which is a pretty great gag to see Static in the ridiculous Gear mask and Gear hiding absolutely nothing with that mask.
This is when Shanice or Shebang, she realizes that she definitely knows that Virgil and Richie are these two teenage superheroes, and it kind of like connects her to them a bit more because, again, she's a teenage superhero herself and she definitely knows who they are. So as they're talking, this is when Shanice reveals that the reason why she's back in town is because her parents have gone missing, despite the investigation that they're going through to try to take down the company that not only bioengineered Shanice, but also her parents have been trapped by this entire time. And she reveals this video recording of her talking to them, which is really cool when you think about it, because it was just like, was this like Zoom before Zoom?
Right. Do they have an early Skype? Like, what's going on?
And this is when we see that as Shebang is talking with her parents, she discovers that they are in Dakota, and two, they hear somebody knocking on the door, which leads to an altercation. She doesn't see who it is, but it's enough of a blast that causes Shanice to be alarmed by it, and she decides to take her trip to Dakota to try to find her parents, hopefully with the help of Static and Gear, but they're not really feeling the fact of teaming back up with her again.
Yeah, they definitely think she's too close to the case, that she can't really be trusted with this. But unfortunately, since she knows their identities, she threatens to out their secret identities if they don't let her participate in the investigation. So they're really left with no choice. And as this new villain with the big feet shows up to a work site, chemical
Yes,
field,
it is our DC drop of the day, our DC Easter egg. This is the Cowan chemical plant, named after Dennis Cowan, who has, as you all know, is one of the co-creators of the Static Shock and the Milestone Media series. Again, these are just like the random name drops that we always see throughout all their animation. I just thought it was really cool because Dennis Cowan just created so much stuff for this world. So kind of glad to see that we're still getting those drops even in season 3, which I feel we haven't been seeing as much recently.
Yeah, no McDuffie community centers and stuff. Like, where's that? And so this guy, this new villain, voiced by Ron Perlman. So basically, he's Slade. Slade Wilson is you can see he's strong enough to stop a truck in its tracks and easily stomp through everything. And he seems to be absorbing different matter. So when Virgil shows up, he does the only thing he can do, and he does a Kamehameha wave that's pure electricity, and it doesn't do much.
No, it's really surprising just to see how powerful this guy is, because he's just like absorbing matter left and right and absorbs this energy. And you think that when you see that your top hero, Static Hero, has been taken down, that this is when you have to just readjust the strategy. But Gear's just like, no, he takes a zap cap that he throws at this guy and immediately encases him in concrete. And he's just like, yeah, this is some straight up concrete. You can't break out of this. No, my friend. This man has been stomping around through concrete, and you thought encasing him in concrete would help? Gear immediately gets knocked out.
Yeah, and Shebang doesn't fare well either. She can't do anything against this dude. She simply can't. There's nothing she has. So it looks like all the team is down. And to make matters more confusing for them, Shanice's parents show up in these robot mechas, because again,
this is straight from Alien.
How many robot mechas exist in this universe? Like, Jesus.
Right? Like, at some point, somebody's got to be putting a patent on these things.
Yeah, get some money. Elon Musk, Musk would have a mecha if he could.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on with these? But in any case, now it's clear that her parents are in league with this cement guy, and they're also like very hard to operate, apparently, because they do look like they're pretty hard to work. And in this altercation, Virgil and Richie are sent into the dumpster again, sadly. And even Richie comments on it. Yeah, I love it. And it becomes clear that this battle is not going well.
Yeah, it's definitely trash. So as they are, this gives this heavy dude and Shanice's parents some time to escape, as this is where we find out from both sides what's really going on. So Shanice, when she was grabbed by this guy, she immediately recognizes him, and her parents do call him out by name, call him out by Koenig. And this is where we find out from Shanice, like, who this guy is a little bit and how they're connected, but she does seem to be holding some stuff back. But more importantly, we jump over to where Shanice's parents are talking with this guy, and it's clear now that this guy can absorb energy and matter to the point where it actually affects his own density. And this is where she's enlisted Shanice's parents to try to help him solve this, but it doesn't seem like he truly wants to be helped. And he's also holding them against their will. So they're trying to expedite the process. And as he's, basically kind of like messing around with all the stuff and absorbing it to make himself stronger, Shanice's father just basically says, like, hey, you need to stop, because you're getting too dense, getting too heavy for the machinery. We can't keep recalibrating this. And it's ironic because it's just like, it's a little bit of fat shaming here.
Yeah.
Wow. It's just like, I see where they're coming from, but at the same time, it's just like, bro, you could have worded that a little differently.
Do better.
Right.
Do better. But it now becomes clear why things have gone so south. It's because this guy, Koenig, has put poison collars on Shanice's parents. And unless they do everything he wants and fix his density problem before he becomes too dense to move, he will poison them and just let them die. So at this point, Shanice is catching on. She's she already made the connection because she knew Koenig, so she kind of sensed what was going on earlier. But Static is just a step behind. But luckily, as they're looking through archive photos of all the scientists, Static's really good at Photoshop, so he's able to see that Koenig is the cement guy. Sure, okay.
Most unbelievable power set reveal today.
Yeah, can you do that in Canva? Can you figure out who a supervillain is?
No, never. One of these days, I'm pretty sure they'll have an update for Canva for me to learn how to do that.
It's necessary because that's what provides the break in the case, and it can't be better timing because as they try to cure Koenig from his cement condition, the parents realize they can't do it. Why? Who cares? They can't do it. And so Koenig activates the collars. He's ready to just murk these parents right away. And luckily, Virgil and Richie show up in time because, again, Shebang can't really do anything against this living statue. So Richie goes to decode the collars while Virgil just gets beat up in the parking lot by Koenig. And we would normally go intricately into the battle and how cool it was, but not much of a battle here because Richie just decodes the poison collars. Koenig gets too heavy and falls through the parking garage like Statham in Furious 7.
Oh my god. Yes.
Remember that? He survived, and then they were like, he survived? I was like, no. A parking garage fell on top. He's a human man.
That we know of, apparently.
I guess not. But yeah, so since Static didn't have to do anything to win, they just call it a day. Some police come, they pick up Koenig to take him God knows where. Shebang's like, hey, maybe we're a team. And Virgil's like, maybe. And because we reached the time limit, that's the end of the episode.
We got our first episode here with Trouble Squared, followed by Toys in the Hood, followed by The Parent Trap. In this set of episodes that compile Blast from the Past, mainly because we just got a chance to see, with Shanice's parents and just seeing her come back, and also the fact that she knows Koenig and all these other things, the animation style. What episode did it for you, and what episode you're still looking at it just saying, what happened here?
Can we bring Little Romeo back? Like something. Yeah, these
can't afford them.
No, yeah, probably can't. It's safe to say this is the weakest batch of episodes we've ever compiled in one. None of them really are up to the level of quality we kind of expect, and it's weird because these 3 episodes have no Bang Baby enemies. So you would think without that limitation, they would do more interesting things, but they don't. Koenig is the result of experimentation. Specs and Trapper are tech. Toyman is not Static's villain. So yeah, they don't do anything interesting with the non-Bang Baby format. All that to say, if we're gonna say the best episode, it's gotta be Toys in the Hood just by default, because you got some fun Superman action. The plastic Kryptonite Army Man is a cool concept. Just don't think about the plot too hard at all, and you'll have a good time. And in the race to the bottom, I mean, I swear I don't hate Shebang, but it's also Parent Trap for me as the bottom episode, because once again, I feel like you have a cool Shebang is such a cool concept. And I almost expected if I were to see her again, we'd do an episode where there's other creations like her that come back. But here it's just telling a very random story with a villain. And you have Ron Perlman as your villain, and he's defeated without the hero doing anything. This is Robin got that work every time he looked in Slade's direction.
And Slade
And-
wasn't even like superhuman in the Teen Titans
No.
series.
And he was always, and Robin was always collecting those L's. He had he had a guy that could blast a laser through titanium, and he still couldn't beat Slade. But here, gravity and weight defeat the villain? Absolutely not. Specs and Trapper may be OP, but at least Static had to give some effort. Here, between Static not giving any effort, between another wasted appearance from Shebang, and just the plot that just wasn't that interesting when you take out the elements of,
Yeah.
I'm going to expose your secret identities unless we do hero stuff. Yeah, it didn't work for me. And the last thing I'll say about that too is in the first time Shebang showed up, the rivalry made sense between the two.
Mhm.
But here the rivalry doesn't really, I don't understand why Virgil is so pissed at her at all for this whole episode. So
Agreed, because they definitely made up by the end of their first encounter. So it doesn't make sense to kind of, I'd be more shocked just to see Shebang pop up rather than and just be confused and like dive into a little bit of what this place is that she's like connected to. Don't have it be reliant upon this heavy man dude who clearly didn't really even seem to be kind of a like a force behind the creation, her own creation. He just happened to be a co-worker. Like it didn't really make any sense to kind of like fall into this.
yeah, agreed. So yeah, where do you stand in this blast from the past? Where who's best, who's worst? There's no wrong answers here.
I'm gonna say this. I 100% agree with both of your choices. I think best episode just based off circumstance, but definitely was Toys in the Hood. I think just because of the fact that it's it felt very much on par with the Static episode with the Justice League. We were mentioning how we didn't get a chance to see how he would interact with Superman. Here we got a chance to, but honestly, it just felt like an extension of that Superman episode Obsession with when we first met Darcy. And then for Parent Trap, it's just too confusing. It definitely felt like a one-off thing that they were just trying to bring back Shanice into, but it didn't really make any sense because we didn't get any more history about her own backstory. It was just more about like her parents who didn't even really have much input in that, except being that we're being held against our will by Heavy Man. And the last thing I'm just going to say about our Specs and Trapper episode, Trouble Squared, the only issue that I really have with it is not only issue, there are several issues. Let me take that back because the science was not sciencing in that one. The other issue that I have is just that I love the season finale where we saw Edwin Alva Jr. being turned into this thing. And then, having it be that we're bringing him back to try to see if we can solve the issue. I think there were too many storylines that were going on all at the same time in that episode. Like, I understand, like, you needed the thing about the community center, like that felt appropriate. You need the thing about the Edwin Alva thing, like that felt appropriate. But including Specs and Trapper, like I just feel like one of the pieces just didn't align with the others. Like they take out one, everything matches up pretty well. But something with all three of them is kind of like the Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2 scenario where it's just like it's too many villains, too many stories going on at the same time. It's easy to poke holes into it. And that's why it was just like, even though it was really cool to see all the action sequences and seeing that Static is the type of hero now that won't kill you, but may leave you behind, it just felt like something was either missing or the stories just didn't flow as accurately as we thought it could.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the commonality between all three villain plans, and this may be because it's not a Bang Baby episode, where if it's a Bang Baby villain episode, a lot of it can be blamed on the fact that these kids are young. Mm-hmm. They don't really think they don't think too complex about their plan. So we can forgive when Francis just throws flames at the school. We're like, that's a kid response. But here, none of the plans make any particular sense. Koenig, if you want to be healed from your heavy condition, what benefit does it do to you to kill these people at all? that doesn't help you at all. That's just pure spite. You would be incentivized to keep them alive. For Specs and Trapper, why did you think stealing static was going to help in the middle of this like sun crisis? And then you
Right.
steal the sun? What? And then you're going to kill the sun if you didn't pay the ransom? Just wait for the ransom. And yeah, Darcy's whole thing, why target a student, get to know her life? If you need to get to know someone's life, try like a twisted CEO or like Maxwell Lord or somebody. Why waste your time trying to infiltrate a high school? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So yeah, I think overall the villain plans here were just garbage.
Yeah, just so bad. And fortunately for us, there isn't any comic book connections to any of these. So these were definitely just made for TV episodes. A lot of it was just continuing storylines and trying to wrap up some things. Like, we definitely have with Edwin Alva Jr., that blow blast from the past there, trying to see if there's anything that we can do to help change Omnifarious back into a normal being, a normal human being. Then we have with the, we needed our static Superman crossover. I think this is just a standard that we just get with any kind of DC production. We needed that. We needed an opportunity for them to connect at some point, though I probably wish that it was definitely Steel over Superman, to be honest. And then finally, just with Parent Trap, it's a journey that we're going on right now with Shanice and Shebang, her trying to finally get out of the clutches of the company that she's connected to. And it is a 3-episode story arc. So we reached the point where it's just like, hopefully by the next episode, it is a bit more of that tipping point. We can finally see what happens to her after she has solved her entire scenario of finally being able to be the kid that she wants to be able to go bowling and get that perfect game and have her picture being plastered up on the walls, like all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, all these episodes just fell short where they could have gained some speed, because we wanted that connection based off of there's some comic book stuff in terms of like Superman didn't get a chance to team up with Static in the Worlds Collide story arc that they had with the DC and Milestone's first crossover event, but now we got a chance to see it here. But again, there isn't much that we could pull from, and thankfully there isn't, because these episodes are just kind of the ones where it's just like you recognize they exist into the Static mythos and the Static universe, but they're not quite essential to the Static viewing and understanding of the character that he is, to be honest.
Yeah, it just feels, these feel phoned in. These feel like the leftovers to fill a season order, but yeah, definitely not the quality we're used to for this show. And it's been a while since we had anything that was seriously as bad as Static Shack or the 99% of germs, but here we are again.
Well, that wraps up our episode here, and we hope that within the next 2 episodes will be the season finale of season 3. Though they're not a 2-parter, they do connect very well into just like really kind of defining Static as a hero that he is, and really connects his past to his future. So until then, take care of yourselves, and remember that there's no need to fat shame anybody. Heavy Man, he didn't need to get that disrespect about how he wasn't going to get cured if he wasn't going to, just stop taking in all these things. So don't fat shame people.
And on the same token, if somebody walks around jacked and you're intimidated, remember they're probably Superman in disguise. So eat that donut. It's not going to change anything.